Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel for another episode of Afterparty. And it is The Last of Us episode 8 Afterparty. So if you haven't seen the show yet, you might want to just save this video later and then come back and watch the episode because we're going to be talking about this show as if you've seen it. And it's a bittersweet episode because it's episode 8, which means there's only one more episode remaining. It's been a really, really solid season, a really brilliant TV series so far. Possibly my favorite TV show of all time. Definitely the best video game adaptation. Or even, I would go another step further and say this is the best adaptation of all time. Whether it be game to series, game to movie, novel to series, or whatever it may be. I think this is my favorite adaptation. So it was bittersweet knowing that this is the second last episode of The Last of Us. But it really, really delivered, and it really got us back on track and pushed us towards the finale of the season really well. Before we continue, I do want to go back and just touch on something about The Last of Us episode 7. That is the Left Behind episode last week. And that is the score. That's one thing that when I recorded the after party, and afterwards I was like, oh, I didn't mention the score and how wonderful the score was. Even though there was a lot of original music from the game brought over, I still think and that's just saying that the original soundtrack of the game itself is so remarkable that when they put it into the TV series, because the rest of the TV series is so well done that the soundtrack from the original game just fits so perfectly into the live action adaptation. But yeah, I just wanted to mention the score because I didn't do that after I recorded the last episode. I was like, oh no, I need to mention the score. So I thought I'd do that just before we get into this episode. And we'll leave that at that. So episode 8, it's called Look for the Light. It picks up after the conclusion of Left Behind, where Joel and Ellie are Joel's still recovering from his injury, and Ellie is looking after Joel, so she has to find food for Joel. And that's where we encounter David and James. And fans of the series and everyone should know that James is played by the voice actor who's played Joel in the video game series. And that's the one that's the one positive that I give to the show, is that it took the video game voiceover character, so Troy Baker is the actor. It took him and gave him a really substantial role in the show. Like, it wasn't just some sort of throwaway line, wasn't just some sort of background character, some sort of cameo. It was a really... Well, it was like in the game, like James in the game is a supporting character, but he's given a bit more of a substantial use in the game. And that's what they've done for the show as well. So it wasn't just giving Troy Baker just this throwaway line or anything like that. They gave him a pretty solid, important part of the episode, and I thought that was really, really good of them to do. I thought the way that they respected the original actor of Joel and gave him such an important role, I thought just speaks volumes as to the amount of respect that the series has for its source material and those involved. So that was really cool to see Troy Baker as James, who plays alongside David. So Scott Shepherd is the actor that plays David. And we got to say that David... So there are monsters in the show. There are infected. There is all that sort of stuff. But David is another level of scary. Like, let's be honest, David... The character of David, he's this sort of cult leader. that's leading this small little community, and you can see the grip that he has over the group of survivors, to the point like there's a scene when they're all having dinner and everybody's being dished their food, and you can see David's plate is substantially larger than all the other plates on the table. Plus, everybody in the room doesn't eat until David gets there. You can see that they're hungry, that they're starving, but they don't take a bite of their food until David sits at his table and then he begins eating. So that's the type of leader we see David as, that we introduced to David. So all that's happening, I thought David is one of the most interesting antagonists of the series as a whole, and I really enjoyed. Well, I didn't enjoy it, but I really was intrigued to watch more of David and watch more of this group of survivors. So I thought that was really well done. So at the start of the episode, Ali, she's hunting this deer, and that's where she encounters them and has this really tense moment when David and James are in this sort of sitting around, and Ali wants medicine, and that's when they figure out that Ali's not alone, that Joel must be nearby. So all this it's a very tense moment, the interactions between David, James, and Ali. Good way to start the episode. So Ali manages to negotiate some penicillin from David so she can help Joel, which she does get. And that goes to the next part when they decide to go back and try and find these two, which they do. Ali tries to hide Joel in this underground sort of area, this sort of basement of this house. Tries to flee on horseback, try to draw them away, but eventually they do capture her. They don't find Joel, except for one guy who gets in there, and Joel, who's now semi-recovered, I'd say he's probably up to 40% of good health, manages to kill him and go after the other sort of survivors with the intent to, track down where Ali is. So that's the story. That's like pretty much beat for beat of how things unfold in the game. We then get to the second part of the episode, which is when they're back inside the village or the community of which Joel is the leader of. And that's where we get those scenes of Joel and Ali's interactions, which are, it's almost uncomfortable to watch. It's almost uncomfortable to watch because you've got this religious cult leader, David, who is putting forward these sort of suggestions to Ali. He's putting forward these suggestions, these sexually charged suggestions towards Ali, which is very uncomfortable to watch. But the way that it's portrayed, it's uncomfortable, but it's like, all right, this guy, he needs to get his. So it gets us on board to try and to get us worried for Ali's safety, and really wants us to get behind her and see her get out of the situation. So once again, like, the mood of the show and the tone of this episode in particular is darker in nature, but from what we went from, so we went from this sort of side flashback story, and it brought us back on track to the main story and where we're going forward, which I thought was, and if you've played the game, you know that the Left Behind episode does fall right where it falls in the episode in the game. So this is nothing that they've changed from the game. Small things are changed here and there, like the series as a whole, but the overall story, where the Left Behind and where this episode picks up, is pretty much beat for beat, which is really good. So throughout the episode, and when they're in the community, we get these hints that, because the community, they're starving, there's no food anywhere, we get these sort of hints that the food that they're being fed, there's something ominous about it, there's something odd about it. And it's revealed that yes, David has been feeding his community flesh of the deceased people. Which is like, when that's revealed, it was like, yeah, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. And it's during that scene that leads to the scene that where David and Ali are in the prison. And that's when David's trying to suggest to Ali, you could stay here. You can, they could begin a relationship. Stuff like that. To which Ali breaks the finger. Steals the keys. We'll cut back to Joel, who, like I said, he manages to take out one of the guards, catches up with the other, and then proceeds to torture him to reveal the location of where Ali is, which he manages to do, and kills them anyway, which is so in line with, this is Joel. It's now gone to the point that the relationship between Joel and Ali has gone from, and this happened, I'd say, a few episodes ago, but it's really cemented and it's really locked in at this point, that I'll mention it again, that Ali is no longer cargo for Joel. Ali is Joel's daughter. Adopted daughter. Adopted daughter. But that's the type of relationship that they're at now. So Joel, who will now do whatever it takes to get to Ali, that's where he's at right now as a character. And he tortures those two guys, and even though they reveal where she is, he kills them anyway. That is absolutely what Joel would do in that situation. He would kill to make sure Ali's safe, to get to Ali and make sure she's safe. So that's the point we're at with Joel. Like, Joel has now fully embraced that Ali is sort of this figure that's now taken the place of his daughter that he lost. And this is the thing that's going to keep Joel going forward, is having Ali replace that daughter that he lost when the pandemic outbreak. So that's where we're at with Joel and Ali, and I think everything that has led up to this episode and everything that's happened really cements that, and really, really locks in that that's where these two are at in the story, which is absolutely brilliant. It's been a slope. It hasn't been rushed, hasn't been forced, anything like that. It has just naturally evolved over the last, I'd say, 7 episodes, because they had that interaction with Joel in that in Left Behind. But over the last 7 episodes, this is where we're at with these two, and it's absolutely brilliant. So we get to that scene when Ali and David, he's interviewing her, interrogating her and all that. And then they're about to, Ali sort of leads him on just a bit to just bite him, get the key, blah, blah, blah. They get in and they decide, nah, we're going to kill her and feed her to the community. And then she reveals that she's infected. Then he shows her to prove that she's infected. She then, and this is the survival instinct of Ali, she then takes the meat cleaver and she kills James. So Troy Baker gets his death in the show. Kills James, but David catches up to her, overpowers her, and attempts to, he assaults her. and then attempts to well, I'm going to call it for what it is. He attempts to rape her. It's attempted rape. She manages to get out with the cleaver and then hits him with the cleaver. And by the way, this is in the kitchen or the restaurant or the eating area, which is on fire because the curtains caught fire. There was a scuffle. There was something was thrown there. Curtain caught fire, so everything is burning around them. Ali grabs the cleaver and kills David, and then we see that moment. We see that moment where Ali repeatedly makes sure that David's dead. She constantly stabs David, repeatedly stabbing him. She's overwhelmed, she's angry, she's scared, she's all the emotions. She's highly emotional. She's emotionally charged at this point that she is just hacking and hacking and hacking away at David because of all that. And then we get that moment when she goes outside and Joel catches up to her, and then they embrace, and Joel says that line at the very end of the episode, "I've got your baby girls." I'm paraphrasing, but something like that. He calls her baby girl, which is something he's never said to anybody except for his daughter, which he lost. And it's that moment that you're like, yep, this is... Joel has found his daughter again. He's found he's not found his daughter, but he's found a daughter within Ali. And that is what this is what the season has been building towards. This is what the season is about. This is what the story is about, is this relationship between a father and a now daughter, which is absolutely wonderful. So there was a few changes, like mild changes. And like I said throughout the season, the changes that they made for the TV show from game have been for the better. So for this episode, I guess the biggest change, and it's only a small change really, but the biggest change was that when Ali is hacking away at David, Joel catches up to her and stops her there and says it's okay. They changed the ending to that Ali hacks and kills him, and then she walks outside and Joel catches up with her. Now the creators did say that they changed it for a couple of reasons. The first reason, a logical reason. So the logical reason, because everything's on fire. Remember, everything's on fire. The thing's burning. That Joel wouldn't be able to get inside because he wouldn't go inside because it's burning. So that's one reason they changed it. The other reason is to have Ali sort of deal with this and for her to have this moment on her own and for her to be the one that stops herself and not be stopped by Joel, but to do it herself. That was that they did say that would be more effective. As a matter of fact, I've got a quote here by Neil Druckmann, one of the co-creators of the game and one of the series co-creators, who says that, and this is just a paraphrase, so there's not actual quotes, but he says that he felt the effectiveness of the series, like the game, hinged on the viewer feeling the emotion between Joel and Ali in the conclusion. He considered it effective as he cried heavily watching the episode. So that's where he's talking about changing from Joel coming in to save Ali to Ali putting to rest this issue, going out and being embraced by Joel. That's what they were talking about. Which then leads us to the end game of the series, so to speak, because the next episode is the final episode, the season finale. I thought the episode itself was probably, definitely one of the better episodes, probably top 3 episodes of the season, episode 8. I thought having David and James and that whole community, I thought that was interesting. I enjoyed. Well, I didn't say I enjoyed, but yeah, it was an element that was good for the show and made it stand out. And then it all, of course, led to that last scene outside the burning restaurant where Joel and Ali embrace, and Joel says, "Got your baby girl in me," or something like that. So I think the build up from everything that's happened to this episode and that scene at the very end has been an absolute remarkable journey. And like I said, it is bittersweet because next episode of The Last of Us is the season finale. It feels like we just got here, but that's the other thing. The other thing about this one is that the pacing of this show and all the episodes have been spot on. Like, you have episodes that run over an hour, but then this one just clocked in at about 45 minutes, and it was 45 minutes of just concise. It was concise. There was no slack. There was no filler time. There was no unnecessary stuff. I thought it was well paced, like every other episode, and I thought the things that they kept in and things they changed and they altered were for the better, and it came out a better product in the end. I don't think how they could have improved this episode at all, to be honest. I don't see any way that they could have done it. So definitely one of the top 3 episodes of the season, which just leads us to next episode's finale, just wanting us to just, like I said, bittersweet. I keep saying it's bittersweet that it's this is the second last episode, but next episode is going to be the last episode. But anyway, question now goes for you guys. What did you guys think of The Last of Us episode 8? Did you enjoy it? One of some things that you maybe didn't enjoy so much? Whatever you think, jump to the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and let's get a discussion going around The Last of Us. That's going to do it for our talk here today. Thanks for tuning in, and if you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button and that notification bell. Stay up to date for when our next upload is. But for the time being, that's been this episode of the After Party, and we'll see you next time for the Last of Us finale After Party. Thanks for watching.